Do you always feel like you're doing something, but you're never actually getting something done? Well, you're half listening to a podcast, maybe folding laundry, and mentally planning dinner all at once. And then when you sit down to relax, you end up scrolling texts or to-dos and Target deals. It's the anxious middle. Always kind of working, always kind of resting, never fully doing either. But life gets much better when you stop lingering in the middle and get intentional with your time and energy. That's what the concept of deep work, and that's what it's all about. So we're here and we're calling on life coach Tiffany Peterson to teach us how to do the deep work. It sounds scary, but what is deep work?
Well, deep work is just simply more intentional work that's more distraction-free and you're able to focus, right? We all know that feeling and that experience when we're really focused on a project, whether it's the laundry or some kind of organization thing, or we're making progress on a work thing. But when we're in that focused lane and we get so much more done because we are focused, don't you feel that difference?
Of course.
Right? And it feels so much better because you're actually seeing things get done, where the majority of us, most of the time, we're trying to multitask and do multiple things at once. We're regularly distracted, and so we're only kind of making some progress.
Oh, that's not just me?
No, it's all of us, honey.
It's just me.
Myself included.
Okay, well, good to know. And this whole idea actually came from a book.
Well, there's this concept. There's a book called Deep Work by Cal Newport that's out there, and that's the title of it. I call this in my own coaching practice and with my coaching clients, we call it time blocking. And so it's the same concept, but where you block off time or you get into a deep work pocket. But it's this concept, again, is where you get into a focused zone of like, I am just doing this one core task. And that might be, again, writing your book or your blog, getting a home organization project done or creative something done. But it helps you get in and get focused and make progress versus there's so many studies that multitasking is actually like one of the worst things we can be doing for our brain to actually see progress, right? It's one thing if it's the end of the day and you're just scrolling your phone for fun. But if you've got deadlines or things you want to see happen or goals or things for your home, you're going to want more deep work pockets to help you achieve that.
Okay, so you talked to us about the benefits of that deep work, and then the opposite would, I guess, be shallow work when we're just kind of on the surface, kind of doing a lot of things. Okay, so this is obviously a technology-driven world that we're in, and distractions are everywhere. So can you speak to that specifically, like the difference between our generation now and how we have to deal with it versus even like our grandparents?
Right. So whether our grandparents or great-grandparents, for all of us, if we go back far enough, we're connected to agriculture and farming and things like that to survive and so forth. But imagine your grandfather, like getting up in his day, having a great breakfast. Maybe he reads the newspaper and he goes out to the field, right? And maybe then he comes in for lunch or something and so forth. The average pickup of a smartphone, most of us are carrying a little mini computer with us at all times, which I'm so grateful for it. It's great technology, but you are connected all the time, dinging, buzzes, like distractions. But the average adult currently picks up their phone 125 to 150 times a day. Imagine your grandfather coming in 10 times a day to check the mailbox. Have we gotten any new mail, right?
Yeah.
Let alone like 50 times or 100 times a day. Would you expect him to get much done? No.
What a great analogy.
And we're doing this all the time.
Yeah.
And so again, while I'm grateful for my smartphone, I love the apps, love the technology, love the convenience. If you want to see more, I would just say even peace of mind, put it down more frequently, but also it's like, what do you really want happening in your home or in your business or in your health or your projects? You want to see things progress. We're all hungry for progression. We're all wired that way. Like we want to progress. Well, you're going to need some focused time to help you move forward any project or task or things that you're working on.
Okay, I think that's something we all want. How is always my question. So you're going to tell us how. You've got a few ideas for us. So the first one is to just eliminate and manage those distractions.
Right, like, and again, some of these distractions, it's not that they're bad or they're wrong, it's just having a handle or a leash on them. And so like with your technology, one of my favorite or must-have go-to tips for me or my coaching clients is we turn off all of our notifications from any social media app. Another great tip.
You don't need to know anything immediately.
You don't need to know every time someone's liked your photo or whatnot. And even if you're using your technology for growing a business or something like that, you still can have boundaries on it. Same thing with email, though. You don't need your email up all day long to be dinging and buzzing you and so forth. Is have blocks of time where you check your email or check your text or check your cell phone, these types of things. But having some boundaries with your technology or any other kind of distraction, to have some boundaries on them.
And you say we also need to have a clear vision
Yeah.
of what we want and what we're working towards.
Yeah, I love this one, probably the most of all of them, simply because with a really clear vision, like what you're moving towards. Without vision, we simply repeat the past or we respond to the brightest, shiniest object, the loudest noise, the biggest thing or that. Like, if I'm not on a clear vision, like, what do I want to create today, right? Let alone in this day or this afternoon or this week, this month, this year. When we're really clear on vision, it's so much easier to be led by that vision than what we say yes to, what we say no to, because we have vision that's leading us. If I don't have vision in my life, I'm going to respond to the noisiest, shiniest thing in my environment.
And you say we need to create time to do that, block off time to work on it.
Yeah, one of my mentors would call it, he'd say success is scheduled. And so whether that's your self-care time, even meal prep or planning time, things like that, that's a great time blocking exercise, is to meal plan, right? And to maybe make several meals on one day that then last you for several, kind of a thing. But to block off the time in your calendar where hey, this is when I do this, and this is when this is happening, and then it has dedicated space.
Yeah, and that is something you say we need to do, talking of dedicated space.
Yeah.
We're talking about dedicated time space, but also dedicated physical space.
Yes. Now, I'm a fan of this as because this is just fun and extra, and it makes it a little more, it's just adding a little zhuzh to this. Okay, Amy, this is what we're talking about. I'm a big fan of creating an environment that inspires you. And that might be like lighting a candle, diffusing some essential oils, or, listening to some good music while you're like, hey, I'm going to crank out the laundry. And I'm going to make this more inviting, or I'm going to really get things done on this project, or I'm going to just get caught up on work stuff, but I'm going to create an environment that just feels good. That's just for fun. I don't think it necessarily influences quality of output, but I think part of life and living is hey, let's make it a little more joyful.
Enjoyable.
Why not?
Yes. Yeah. Tiffany, you always have such good things for us.
Oh, you're so kind.
And people can follow you. Where's the best place?
You can find me on Instagram at Tiff Peterson, or my home website is tiffanyspeaks.com.
Okay. Thanks,
Thanks,
you, Tiffany.
friend.